You are now listening to the NerdLanta podcast. Episodes are available on all podcast apps and on the ESO Network. Please visit us online at nerdlanta.com for more info.
Hey, NerdLanta listeners, what's going on? This is Matthew English here with my co-host Julie Marateck.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. As always, we've got producer Chris on the line. He usually turns his mic off so he doesn't interrupt us, and we
He's
can't
just
hear
there
what
in the
he's doing.
abyss.
He's
in
just
the abyss.
He's
He's there.
He's just a stalker, just always listening.
He's just creeping on our podcast.
Always creeping. And today we've got special guests with us. We've got Hyperspace, local Atlanta band. From Hyperspace, we've got Kayvan Sarikhani, Jason Kochis, and Ryan Paul. Gentlemen, say hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
You guys may have to... We a couple times we've had multiple guests on, so if you just want to cue yourself, give your name before you speak until listeners get a sound for your voice. That would be great. Julie, how's your quarantine going? This is our third quarantine podcast recording. I'm getting very comfortable recording from my closet. I'm back in the closet.
You're going back in the closet.
I'm back in the closet.
This time with a microphone. You're ready for showbiz. I am good. Yeah, quarantine is fine. I feel like I need to start at like the first 3 months. It was like, oh, I want to eat all this comfort food and I'm going to be stuck at home. So I want mac and cheese and, I'm going to get back on track when things get back to normal. But I think I'm now realizing that like there is no normal and I need to like get back on track because I don't want to come out of quarantine looking like Jabba the Hutt. So I'm like, so I've been trying to get back to being a little more on the healthy side and, just trying to do that. I was like, I don't want to look like Jabba the Hutt when I get out of here. So that's what I've been focusing on this week. How about you?
Similar thought. Well, I had a similar thought. I also didn't want to come out of this looking like Jabba the Hutt. The problem is I went in looking like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
So I hung a pull-up bar on the frame of my closet, thinking, okay, fine. Every time I go into my closet for something, because I'm so chaotic in the morning, I'm like, okay, I got to go get pants. And I go into my closet, get pants, go out, put on the pants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, I need a shirt. I go back and get a shirt. So I was like, this is perfect. Every time I enter the closet, I have to do at least 5 pull-ups. That's a simple
good rule.
Goal. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, instead, I'm just piling all my clothes on my bed. I'm avoiding the closet now.
I was going to say that this sounds like a great
pull-ups.
idea until I try that and the paramedics have to come get me.
Until I take down the door frame.
I take down the entire house.
The whole thing that was not a load-bearing wall.
That was not a support wall.
I can't even hold my emotional burdens, let alone my weight.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
so that's how I am. I did a comedy show last night with my cat. I feel like that's kind of like the future of comedy is at home on Zoom with your pet. I don't know if that's exciting or sad.
You host a great show at a cat cafe in town, the first cat
cafe
in Georgia. Yeah, so it's time to bring cats back into the comedy mix.
Mm-hmm. So how have you been this week, Matthew?
This week's been good. So I think last week we discussed that I had set a goal for myself of watching all the MCU movies, and that was my reason to get out of bed. But then I finished all the MCU movies in an unreasonable amount of time, and now I don't have a reason to get out of bed. So I was in bed today till noon, which was not good. Really kind of shot my one day off. But yeah, still working, still doing my thing, just living life. How about you?
The same. Have you checked out any new like Netflix shows this week, or are you watching now that you're done with the Marvel movies? Are you watching anything else right now?
Next for me is Dead to Me. Has anyone seen it? Let's integrate our interviewees. Have you guys seen Dead to Me yet?
No, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, same here.
I have not only seen it, but I've already watched season 2.
Okay, you and my dad both. He binged season 1 in a day. And then called me like, you need to watch this show.
Totally. It is a very binge-worthy show. It's great. It stars, Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate, and it's just a super fun, like kind of bad girl rom-com, buddy comedy, dark comedy kind of thing.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, yeah, it's my next on my binge list. Maybe for our next episode, I'll do a segment of my Netflix and nap. And see how soon because I always fall asleep during shows. So it's even no matter how good it is, I'm going to fall asleep. And that's how we develop our ratings.
Does Matthew fall asleep? Let's what about our guests? I would love to introduce them right now. Matthew, if you want to introduce them, and I'd love to get their take on what they're watching right now.
Yeah, so we went through some names. We got Kayvan, Jason, Ryan. What are we watching? Are you guys like reading books? Are you doing the good thing for your brain and reading instead of watching shows?
I have an 8-year-old in the house, so when we all sit down as a family and watch TV, I mean, she rules the roost. So I'm watching anything with a PG rating, but we're just going through, watching all the classics. We just watched all of the Back to the Future, 1 through 3. So that's pretty much what we're doing. All the staples of the 90s, and it's funny as we're watching it, we're kind of just shocked how some movies were given a PG rating, and it was so edgy for its time. And we're watching like, no, there's no way this is just PG-13. I'm like, oh Jesus!
Yeah, like, oh my God, yeah. Back to the Future is probably my favorite movie of all time, and it deals with some like very adult topics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like his mom's hitting on him, but whatever. Neither here nor there.
yeah, that was definitely awkward. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, they mentioned that in what was that wrestling show on Netflix about the
Glow?
Women wrestling? Yeah,
Glow.
They mentioned it in season 1 about because one of the main characters wants to write a story about how he goes back into time and has sex with his mom, and they're like, dude, that already happened in this movie Back to the Future.
Been there, done that.
It's a pretty good gag in the show, but
that is crazy. So
what else are you guys watching anything?
I'm a little behind. Well, it's nerdy related, but my girlfriend and I, we've been watching Star Trek Discovery season 1, so definitely enjoying that so far.
Yeah, same thing here. We just started giving Discovery a chance, so
I've never gotten into Star Trek. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I definitely miss the Star Trek boat.
Yeah, we tried to watch Generations, the Next Generation, with my daughter, and she's like, "This is boring."
I did watch Picard as well. We finished up Picard, and now we're into Discovery.
Yeah, Picard's on my to watch list. What'd you think of it?
As a big fan of Next Generation, I liked it, but I didn't think it was amazing.
Okay,
I could see season 2 getting better. But, the first 2 or 3 seasons of Next Generation weren't that great either, in my opinion. It got better. They really just get into their groove.
It got better once the movies came out, I think. It's like as the movies were coming out, they kind of got more...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I agree. I grew up watching Next Generation because my dad watched it and I was a kid, and I lived in Las Vegas, and they had at the Hilton, they had a 4D ride at the hotel where it was like inside an escape pod from that, ejects from the Enterprise, and you had it like the whole thing's on hydraulics, so it's like shaking you, and it was like my favorite thing to go down to the Strip and do.
Oh, that's awesome.
There isn't a whole lot that kids are allowed to do on the Strip, but that was one of them. And I would like beg to go there. I was like, can we go do it again? And it's a glorified roller coaster. That's all it is. Yeah, but it was so much fun.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's still there. This is the 90s. So if it's still there, that would be really cool. And I say we all take a trip after Corona's over, and let's go to Vegas and ride it. God, is that hotel even there anymore? Did they implode it? I don't even know anymore. Every time I go back, it's like the skyline's completely different from the one I used to see out my window.
Well, speaking of our nerdy conversation, I think that's a good segue into nerd news.
Nerd news.
Yes, it's nerd news time where we talk about nerdy things that we're catching up on. We talked a little bit about it right now with Star Trek and Netflix. Are any of you guys American Horror Story fans?
I haven't watched it, no.
No, I love American Horror Story. Yes, thank God. Or else it would be a really short segment. But they are coming out with Ryan Murphy, who's just producing so many things right now, is announced that he's coming out with American Horror Stories, not to be confused with American Horror Story. And it's going to be like a new anthology series where each episode is contained. So it's not going to be where one episode relates to another episode, but I'm really excited about it because I love American Horror Story. And anything that Ryan Murphy touches is gold.
He's really kind of, even down to like Nip Tuck was an excellent show.
Yeah.
Which was kind of before he was on the map. I think really no one cared about who he was until Glee came out, which was such like a curveball when you come off of like, you know, when you consider in the rest of his production history, it's like Glee does not really fit in, but there it is. And it's
that's one cool thing about him is he can change genres really easily. I mean, he can go from like sort of a High School Musical-esque show to like one of the darkest shows on television, you know, American Horror Story. And then he's very, you know, huge proponent of LGBT rights. He produced Pose. And right now he's producing a ton of documentaries that are on Netflix that have to do with LGBT stories. So it's cool that he's kind of grown to be a producer that can, I guess, touch a lot of things, not in a dirty way, but in a inspiring way.
So do you follow, as a fan of American Horror Story, have you watched all the online kind of like YouTube rabbit hole things about how all the seasons of American Horror Story are all connected? I mean, they've made some of the connections very overt, but there's some, like, I believe, like in Coven, so Madison Montgomery, played by Emma Roberts,
they're all connected.
Related. The people who built the murder house, their last name was Montgomery, and it's never like overtly stated that they're related, but it's like you don't build a show where there are connections and use the same last name and expect people not to notice. Like I find that so fascinating. The whole I love, as I've maybe overstated my love of the MCU. I love connected theories like that and all the.
I do too. I love going down those rabbit
universes.
holes.
Yeah. I didn't hear about the American Horror Stories plural. I'm excited about that. That'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
Me too. What nerd news you got for us, Matthew?
Well, I've got a couple things. One thing I wanted to mention, it's not really nerd news, but just kind of a public service announcement I wanted to get out there. The Atlanta Downtown Improvement District, they've opened up an online voting poll they've got $1 million in unspent sales tax, and they are leaving it up to the people to decide how to spend it. So a lot of the improvements have to do with widening Edgewood, the sidewalks on Edgewood, or making the fairly popular district pedestrian only. So it's kind of a fun little thing to do. If you just Google Downtown Decides. You can pull up the webpage for it. You can only vote once, but you don't have to be a resident of the downtown area to do it. I'm imploring people to. There are some of the initiatives that are fairly cheap to enact to make the downtown area more handicap accessible, which I'm a large proponent of. So please vote on that. The way it works is I think there's like 33 things you can vote on. And you have $1 million budget. And so you vote for it gives you the price of each project. You vote on the projects that you want. And when you get to $1 million, you're not allowed to vote anymore.
That's really cool.
I'm
on there right now. Yeah. I just clicked on it with your link. So it's like anything from like beautifying Peachtree Street to adding additional trash cans, in the Sweet Auburn area, right? So like anything that you could do. It's super cool.
And what's kind of cool about it is, if you've got any passion projects, like one of them is widening or making Jackson Street navigable, because so much of Jackson Street is laid with brick and they've got it for pedestrians only, but that's a high traffic area. So they want to open that up for cars there. So if you're tired of congestion on Jackson Street, put your money in there. That's one of the more expensive projects I saw. So I'm asking people, please vote for the let's make downtown more easy to navigate for all of us, not just people with navigational troubles like those in wheelchairs or with walkers or even people on crutches. And let's fix the potholes. Let's vote to do the good things. While I really appreciate the beautification projects, there's one to paint a crosswalk, I think outside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in some sort of sports theme. If you want to spend the last of your money there, if you're getting close to the $1 million and that's something that you're passionate about, if you're a huge Falcons fan, vote for that. But please, let's look at the things that are going to help people. And and I really appreciate them leaving it up to the people. They're like, look, we got $1 million, spend it. Tell us how.
Super cool. Yeah, it's really easy and it counts down for you. So as you pick what you want, it automatically tells you how much money you have left. So
Yeah,
that's
it keeps
super for
totaling it
people
for
like
you.
us that are not good at math. That's great.
I am terrible at math. Not only is my last name English, I have an English degree. And I work at Starbucks.
It's really interesting that they're doing that, considering that they haven't collected state taxes for, or at least what they used to collect over the last couple of months. You'd think they'd be putting that in a piggy bank and just like a worst case scenario account or something.
Well, they voted on the initiative in November of 2019, and they said we will have the poll up by May, and it ends May 31st, I believe. So this was something they'd already promised to do. I agree. I was like, oh, that's a weird timing to be like, we've got extra cash. 'Cause, yeah, I'm sure they're not pulling in the sales tax they normally would currently, but. Yeah, that's put it in the piggy bank. Let's save it for a rainy day. But I do appreciate them putting it in the hands of the people. I think that's a good way to do it. And I do appreciate that you don't have to be a resident of downtown Atlanta. You don't have to prove your residency because I'm not a resident of the downtown area, but I do traverse it a lot. So I hope people appreciate my opinions on it, even though I'm not a resident.
I think that's great.
Yeah,
I love that.
I thought it was super cool. I thought I would try and boost it. I posted it on Facebook. Yeah, if you guys want to share it to Facebook, that would be great. Let the people know that our voices, they want to hear us. So let's vote.
That's like
and then
being nerdy for a good cause.
Nerds for a good cause. Yeah. Are you a nerd for government and infrastructure? Well, do I have the story for you? But then the nerd news that I did want to bring to the table outside of boosting that was the news about The Mandalorian. Did you guys watch The Mandalorian?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you guys hear who's going to be in season 2?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, yeah. We got the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy, Boba Fett. And
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that.
What was that?
I'm not really sure how I feel about this.
What are your reservations about having Boba Fett?
I mean, I could talk for an hour about this, but I'll keep it brief. I wasn't really a fan of the prequels. I know that they're using the same actor. Really wasn't a fan. It's just very confusing because why would George Lucas kill him off and then now it brings him back in the prequels in this humongous way and then brings him back in the show? I don't know. I guess I just find it confusing.
Well, I mean, if you remember, they did bring him back in the books, like the expanded universe before.
Oh, yeah. Dark Empire was awesome.
Non-canon.
Yeah, when he came back in Dark Empire, I was all about it. But I guess it's just the connection to the prequels is really where I'm getting hung up. And that's my own thing. Please, everyone else have their own opinion and enjoy it. I'm just going to be judging it the whole time.
There is that deep hatred for the prequels, which I do appreciate because they are pretty garbage.
Yeah,
man, what a waste of skill and ability to just everything about it was just pretty trash. You just got this beautiful world to build in, and then you're like, let's focus on the Galactic Senate. Like, no one gives a shit about that.
But yeah, fingers crossed. I hope it's amazing. The rest of the Mandalorian was amazing, so I guess I just have to trust. Yeah,
we'll just have to put some. Well, I mean, yeah, what they did with the Mandalorian, I really hope that they can keep that magic going, because it really was so cool, and it would really be a downer. Because I'm looking forward to season 2. If it ends up being garbage, that's going to be so sad. Maybe he'll just be like, they had a lot of great guest stars who came in just for an episode. So maybe they'll shove Boba Fett into one episode, and it'll be like, oh, here he is. And then if he's garbage, we'll never have to see him again until they resurrect him again.
Yeah, Star Wars just keeps bringing back people, so it doesn't matter what happened to them. They're just back.
They're back. Well, I think that was good. I think we got a good smattering of nerd news. But what do you say we get on with this interview? I
think we're going to do a little break here in a minute, and then we'll move into talking with the Hyperspace Band.
Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
And I'm Tony Heath.
And we've been watching Doctor Who for 5 years.
So that makes us experts.
Probably.
I once heard a guy say that he listened to a 4-hour podcast by an expert, which made him an expert.
So we're experts.
Definitely experts.
And you can be an expert too.
All you have to do is listen to
The Watch-a-thon of Rassalon.
It's a podcast
that we make
together.
Sometimes with friends.
Listen to it.
Or else.
The Watch-a-thon of Rassalon.
A proud member of the ESO Network.
Hey everyone, this is Carrie the Metal Geek, and I would like to invite you to hang out with myself and my fellow metal geeks as we have all kinds of discussions about heavy metal, films and TV shows, video games, theme parks, comic books, and whatever else is tickling our geeks. Please visit our website at metalgeekspodcast.com and follow us on all the social medias, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Metal Geeks. We are also proud members of ESO Network, so you can check everything out at esonetwork.com. Keep it metal, keep it geeky, stay safe, and see you on the next episode.
All right, we are back. We want to hear about this cool band, Hyperspace. Welcome, band Hyperspace. I know you've been with us for the nerd news and such, but I'm excited to hear about your band. So you guys describe yourself as Geek Rock, correct? And you're from Atlanta. And I want to hear a little bit more from you of what you mean by Geek Rock.
Yeah, it's whatever sort of comes up for you when you hear the term Geek Rock. I know when I heard it, they usually applied it to bands like Weezer. And I definitely wanted to go that route with this band when we started it. It was sort of like trying to be a mix between Green Day and Weezer. And I feel like over the years, we've sort of grown through and out of that. I mean, I think we still sort of have that basic sound. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's a lot of the songs are about Star Wars. A lot of them are about girls, girls who wear glasses. But yeah, it's just sort of the theme of the band. I myself am definitely very geeky. I think everybody in the band has their own things that they geek out about. Maybe not everyone is the hugest Star Wars fan in our band, but that's okay. Everybody has their own fandom that they like.
We celebrate all fandoms here at NerdLanta. It's even civil infrastructure nerds are appreciated here. So you guys have been around. You guys have been together since 2011. How'd you guys meet?
Basically, I just put an ad on Craigslist, or I think I answered an ad that Ryan's our drummer, and we just started talking online, and then we met at a Taco Mac over in Decatur and just talked about what we wanted to do with the band. And, we I think we started playing at my job in like the break room because I didn't have a practice space or anything. But immediately, as soon as Ryan was just warming up, I was like, yeah, he's in the band. He's the one. And then we found a bass player. And yeah, I mean, you just know he starts warming up and he sounds like Travis Barker from Blink-182. And yeah, who doesn't want that guy in your band?
Yeah,
I want that guy in my band.
It was really difficult when I moved to Atlanta from Nashville. I tried out for so many bands, and it was I probably tried out for at least 8-9 different bands, and there was so much dysfunction, drug use. There was one guy, it was a Hum cover band, and I drove out there. We played. I had an amazing time. I'm like, all right, this is great. And they just lays down and proceeds to shoot up. And I'm like,
oh no,
of course. Welcome to Atlanta. So it was kind of very discouraging for those first couple of years. But eventually, like I said, I got so desperate and posted on Craigslist, just, can someone who isn't dysfunctional and not have a drug problem, can we make some music, please? And so that's when Jason responded. And I think Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, it was at a Taco Mac in Decatur, right?
The Taco Mac, yeah. It's still there.
Sir.
That's pretty bold to put a post on Craigslist hoping for a normal person. You're like things must have been really bad in those other bands for Craigslist to give you that hope.
Yeah, actually, it was rather ironic that you should say that. Is I got robbed a couple of weeks beforehand.
Oh my god!
Craigslist.
Oh, no.
I was selling my Nintendo 64 and all the games or something, and I was a dumbass. I was naive. I drove out. He's like, "Yeah, meet me at this McDonald's," and I drive to some remote McDonald's. I'm like, "This is kind of weird. Does he want to eat like dinner or something?" And sure enough, he pulls up and basically robs me of all my Nintendo 64 games. And
boo! You got hamburgled. Just a public service announcement for everyone. If you're gonna meet someone from the internet to make a sale, you should do it at a police department. There you go. That's the advice. Kayvan, how did you get into? Did you also respond to the Craigslist ad?
Well, no, I'm relatively new to the band. I guess what was it, 2018, guys? Something.
Yeah, it's been a couple years now that Kayvan's been
something like that. And so, yeah, they in desperation they reached out over Craigslist again, hoping to get a normal person, but they lucked out because not too normal for them. But
it's funny because I've started all my bands after college with Craigslist, and most people have been pretty normal.
I just had rotten luck, I guess.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Kayvan.
You've got all the horror stories for everyone.
What's the name of your new album? I know you guys have a new album out. I'd love to hear a little bit about it. And I know we're going to hear some sample tracks as well. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I can probably elaborate a little more on that. So what we did was we all three agreed that collaboratively we wanted this to be just unlike any of our prior albums. We wanted to do it right every step of the way. The recording, we wanted to be well prepared. We wanted to do the mixing right, the mastering, and basically the overall theme is Emulator is the name of the album. We took each song and we wanted it to emulate a lot of the artists that reflected, what we listened to growing up. So there's actually, for instance, there's one song that is the intro. We purposefully put a filter on the drums to make it sound like the beginning of a Blur song. There's some songs that sound very Nirvana-esque. So overall, we wanted to emulate a lot of these bands that just reflect us as musicians. And not only that, we tied it into the video game side of things. I mean, I grew up playing every gaming system there is. The link that we have at our hyperspaceband.com, you can check out the cover. And it's basically just it's like an old Nintendo cartridge with a guy playing like an arcade game, very 80s, 90-ish, more so 80s-ish. And that was, that's back when you had no worries. We can sit around and play Super Mario Brothers 3, all day, and, life was great and you had no worries. And so, but also as I got older, me specifically, I got big into emulators for video games. Actually, I still have one. It's called MAME32. And basically it's a computer program and it emulates in this case, it emulates a system called Neo Geo, but it emulates arcade games. You can get emulators for Nintendo 64, or you can get emulators for Super Nintendo. But now, I mean, they're doing amazing things to where you can buy like an old Atari, joystick, and it has like the whole entire library physically built into the physical joystick.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so we kind of tied in that aspect because we all love video games, and so it's kind of a pun. And in the same instance, the album, each of the songs, each song emulates a lot of the artists that we look up to, and we still listen to.
I love that. It sounds like there's like a lot of Easter eggs sort of in your album and in your work, which is super geeky. So I love that.
Yeah, and Jason, I got to give credit to Jason. Jason is an amazing graphic design artist. The guy is so talented. He even made, I'm staring at it right now in my office, he made our own comic book. It's like a legit comic book.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And and so, I mean, we're really excited about that. We've had some delays with the CD production. But Jason can correct me if I'm wrong, but they just started. We're really trying to aim for the May 21st deadline, but I don't think the CDs will be physically ready by then. It'll probably be maybe a couple days afterwards. But when people see this design, the cover art will automatically, you'll say, oh, it's just a Nintendo cartridge. But once you start opening it, Jason took basically pixelated artistry, but he put like contemporary themes. Like he made like a Legend of Zelda-esque picture with the lyrics, and then he included a Demigorgon from Stranger Things, and that very that 8-bit, pixelated. Like, so he did this all by himself, and it's I told the guy I gloat all the time that he's so talented, and we're so fortunate to have him because from a creativity standpoint, that's where I just suck at. Like, I mean, he has so much creativity, and for him it's just seamless, it's easy. But when we're really happy with the entire album from start to finish, the recording, the production, the mastering, the sound quality, and on top of that, we have the creative design. I think we just checked off all the boxes.
Why don't we give a song a listen? I don't know if you guys want to talk about it before we listen to it or after we listen to it, but I think first we're going to listen to Baby Baby. Does anyone want to? Do you guys have a preference on telling us about it before or after we play the clip?
I could talk about it a little bit before.
Okay.
This one's pretty different. Like Ryan was talking about, like each song has a different sound. We were sort of emulating different bands, not really on purpose, but it just sort of all happened that way because we all have different influences. But this song in particular, what makes it different is instead of playing the guitar the whole time, I sort of didn't play it. So it just gives it this different vibe. And, you know, for me, it's sort of like the White Stripes mixed with Black Sabbath. But if like Sonic Youth was playing the song, and hopefully it lives up to that description for y'all. But yeah, it's just definitely a different song. And Kayvan has this really super cool bass line in it. And that's what reminds me of Black Sabbath, honestly. Just the way he plays in this particular song.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that. Basically, from like a drumming perspective, when Jason started playing it, I immediately thought the White Stripes. But then once we got into the choruses, I was thinking, okay, we're getting a little Bad Religion in here, a little Nirvana, a little bit of Royal Blood, getting that energy. So this song was definitely not like our. It's definitely a different sound for us. I'll agree with Jason there.
That sounds great. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to play that as loud as I can the next time I'm in a convertible with the top down, the sun. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. You definitely sound sort of like a SoCal kind of like late 90s, early 2000s kind of vibe to it. Like I definitely hear that punk rock sound. I definitely hear that Nirvana, a little bit of Weezer in there. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, can I tell a silly anecdote about Weezer?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it on.
You guys will appreciate this. So I have a brother who's 7 years younger than me. And my best friend bought me tickets to a concert. It was Weezer, and opening for them was Panic at the Disco. And so I showed up to this concert. I'm out at Lakewood, and I run into my brother, who I think at the time was 16 or 17 maybe. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, we're here to see the band. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I was like, well, let us know if you want to hang out with us, or if you just want to like be with your friends. That's cool. Like, whatever. And then like I lost track of him over the time, and then Panic at the Disco left, and then Weezer started, and I texted him, and I was like, hey, where are you guys at? He's like, oh, we left. We didn't know who that other band was.
Oh my God.
He's like, yeah, we didn't know who Weezer was.
I didn't know who Weezer was. God. Oh, okay, boomer. That's me saying that to you. Like, we're so
he was
old.
like, we just came to see Panic at the Disco. We don't know who Weezer is.
Like, you don't know who Weezer is.
It's like, oh my God. That's like, so sad.
I am old. I am so old.
So sad.
Well, everybody here knows who Weezer is. So
and we
that's
appreciate
a good thing.
The similarities that you guys are pulling. Yeah, you. I was listening out for some Travis Barker sounding, but really, that your vocals sound like little Rivers Cuomo to me. That's what I'm feeling.
Appreciate it.
I'm all about it.
You're very kind.
Now, do you all write the music, or do some of you write it? Or, are you all songwriters, or is one of you primarily the songwriter?
I primarily write most of the stuff, but the thing that was very different about this record was, well, first of all, Ryan got injured over the couple summers ago, and he had to take like 3 or 4 months off. And so we took a break. We all took a break, and after we came back from the break, I had like maybe 1 or 2 songs, and I knew we needed to write more material for a new album. And I just really didn't have anything necessarily. And so I pulled a song from an old band I was in. I got one of the guys agreed that we could play it. I think Todd, our bass player at the time, it just turned out that he got a different job and he couldn't spend as much time in the band. And so a lot of the practices were just Ryan and I. And so we would go through the songs we already knew, and then Ryan's just an amazing drummer. He would just start drumming something, and then I would try to play along. And that's what Baby Baby was. It was just he was just going crazy on the drums, and I tried to play to it. And I just sort of had this like sleazy guitar part, I thought, at the time. And then the lyrics just came, as we were just jamming. So a lot of the songs just developed that way.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that when I collaborate, I mean, obviously with Kayvan as well, but when I sometimes in the past would collaborate with Jason, I mean, a lot of the songs that made it to our albums, I mean, I would just, mess around, and he would mess around. We would come into sync, and then literally we'd have a song done by the end of practice, and then we would just practice it. I mean, there's some songs that it took us maybe 30, 40 minutes of just collaborative effort just because it was just synced. It just made sense. And it just flowed like that. Thankfully, the process with making music with both Kayvan, and Kayvan's brought a ton to the table now. Actually, the next one on the list, I believe, is going to be Do or Do Not. And he's still writing music as we speak. So this is going to push us to a whole other echelon. Now that he's a very gifted writer as well. So I'm looking forward to making more music with these guys, because again, collaboratively, it's the easiest it's been in my career as a drummer.
Well, since you've referenced Do or Do Not, do we want to go ahead and play it now? Do you guys want to say anything else about it before we start?
I'll let Kayvan talk about it. It's his song, really. So,
well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I did the melody and the rhythm, but we all worked on it. We all it was arranged differently originally, and we kind of moved it around a different way to make it fit more of how the Hyperspace sound is. Ultimately, though, the background of the ultimate sound I was going for was, really New York hardcore. Bands like Agnostic Front, Sick of It All, Youth of Today, Shelter, that kind of stuff. And there's probably a little bit of, a hint of 90s, ska in one part of it as well. So probably a little bit different from some of the things, but I think we're all pretty happy with it.
Yeah, when he started playing it, it kind of amalgamated, just like he said, it kind of morphed. It's really interesting, actually. If it'd be really kind of interesting if we could like do a before and after comparison, like if you actually gave them the demo you sent us, and then the final product, just to see, they can see the before and after of the creativity process. Because Kayvan he's really an amazing composer as well. He'll actually write these songs digitally, I guess, on his his setup at home on his Mac, and he'll have like a little drum machine in the background. He'll overdub the vocals, the bass, and the guitar. Very rough, but it's cohesive and it sounds great and it works. So just by him doing that, it's the cogs are already moving in my head. But with this song specifically, when I think of this song, when I heard him, I was thinking about the time I saw a band called Anti-Flag play in Clarksville, Tennessee. And this was a long, long time ago. I'll never forget when he started playing that beginning riff, which you may or may not hear depending upon where you start the song. It just reminded me that time I saw them just live. It mirrors. So, but yeah, I put there's some spin on this song. My influences like the Atari, Bouncing Souls, Descendants, a little bit of Off With Their Heads. So. That's when I listen to this song. I take all the songs from those artists and I kind of think, okay, drumming wise, this is what I'm going to emulate.
Cool. Well, let's hear Do or Do Not.
He only wants the impossible, so that
I love that. I love all the different sounds coming together. You know, you tell that you guys are in such sync, and you all are. I'll say, you guys are so sweet. Like none of you are taking like full credit for anything. You know,
No, I was going to say that too.
which is so unlike, so differential from most bands, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, I did this, you know, or taking all the credit. So I think that, you know, Craigslist really brought you guys together. And it was love at first sight. But you can tell you guys get along so well. You have such a great partnership, and a musical vibe as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, to me, it's not about, it's never a one person job. You know, everybody brings something to the table. You know, as Ryan and Jason have mentioned, things change. They morph into something else other than it was originally, and I think it's always the better for it.
That's the beauty of collaboration. You know, that's Julie and I are both stand-up comics, which is a very solo, very independent kind of activity to music making, which I don't know how you know, to do it alone and then present it to the band and then not expect someone to contribute something to it is kind of egotistic. Like, it's kind of be like, no, we're going to play the song I wrote. And like, no, it's like, well, let's hear other people's ideas. And I really appreciate that about music is about the collaborative nature of it. You know, unless you wanted to pull an Ed Sheeran and get a loop machine. You know?
That's too complex for me.
I'll give both Kayvan and Jason credit, like, because I kind of lost my patience there because I don't know if they went into too much detail about this, or, you know, the history. We started this album around October-ish of last year, and we were like, we thought this would all be done by, like, you know, November, December, and then one thing led to another. We had some delays, with some technical difficulties, you know, and then of course we were trying to get it mixed locally, and then we just weren't happy. And then this guy from the UK, you know, he reached out to us. He's like, hey, I like your sound. Let me mix your album. And his name was Saw. And so we sent everything over there. It was a gamble for us with working with someone for such a technical process and not having someone physically in front of you. Like, you can't, there's no mixing board, nothing's tangible. You're just entrusting this person. And I mean, that was painstaking for us because the iterations for each song. But back to what I was saying about Kayvan and Jason is like the diplomacy between all three of us, because sometimes it came down to voting. It was just like, okay, I like it, Jason likes it, but maybe Kayvan doesn't. Well, you know, 2-1. So that's then. So but the diplomacy is very important, and it works for us very well. Like I said, I gave these guys so much credit because at the very end, because of COVID, I would just, you know, I was foaming at the mouth, like, can this be done?
So the mixing was done by a guy in overseas. Where was the project recorded? Did you guys record it locally?
We did. We recorded it with Sean McPherson at East Atlanta Recorders, or Recording, I think it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, over in East Atlanta, it was pretty effortless. I think we did most of it in a weekend. Like, we all recorded live. I was playing my guitar, Kayvan was playing the bass, Ryan was playing the drums. So we got all of that like in 2 days, and then started just, you know, adding some extra guitars, adding some extra vocals, you know, effects on it and things like that. So it came together pretty quickly. I think where we stumbled was just the mixing. You know, everybody sort of had different ideas, outside the band, inside the band, you know, where each song could go, where it should go. And, you know, for me, I had to let go of the approach that these songs have to sound exactly like how we do live. And I think that most of this record sounds like us live, but there are instances where it veers away from that. And, you know, for me, I just had to let go of that and just be okay with the album is the album and the live thing is the live thing. And people can enjoy both, and that's okay.
Well, and maybe later you can release a live album and everyone can get the feel for what it sounds like live.
Yeah, I know Kayvan had mentioned maybe the next one we should just do it real quick, real raw, just more simple. But I don't know. I feel like Saw really elevated us to a new place that's where we wanted to be. When we were originally mixing it, we were trying to get to where Saw was, but we couldn't. So we just had to go and hire him to do it. And he was very patient with us. I was on the fence about one or two songs, and he was just very patient.
Did you find him on Craigslist?
No. Yeah, the next album's going to be called I lost it. Something Craigslist would love, or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
how about Quarantine with Craigslist?
No, oddly enough, I think sent me an email in like 2017. He had heard our last record, Delusions of Grandeur, and he was like, I want to mix your next one. And I was like, well, we're not ready yet, and every 6 months or so he would send me an email like, hey, are you guys recording yet? And I said, no, we're not. And I think it was probably about either 6 to 4 months before we started recording with Sean. I said, we're going to be heading into the studio, but we've never heard, he hadn't really necessarily mixed a band like us before, at least not of the samples that he had on his website. And we sent him the song Barbara Gordon from our last record and said, hey, what can you do with this? And when we got it back, we were like, wow, he just really elevated it and gave it this different vibe. And I think when we went in the studio, we expected our album to sound like that when we came out. So we were destined to work with the guy no matter what, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and going in with the theme of emulator, did you guys use any experimental or different recording techniques than you'd used before to try and achieve that goal of kind of filtering your music through bands that you admire and such?
I think I told Sean before we started, I was like, hey, each song is going to sound different. Each one has like a theme. Like there's a song called Halle Berry that's, supposed to sound like Blur. There's a song called You Think You're Right, and it sounds like Radiohead to me. These are the places I want to go with certain songs. And so we tried our best to sort of go that direction. In terms of crazy, effects or gear things, I think the oddest thing, and I was very nervous about it, was there's like this eerie keyboard sound in one of the songs called The Ghost of Carrie Fisher. But I was like, you know what? It fits the Nintendo 8-bit sound because it's got this little kind of noise. Kayvan and Ryan can tell you I fought, very hard to keep it like the pure Hyperspace sound where everyone else was trying to push it to different, for better, not for worse, make it different and more interesting, rather than just the 2 or 3 chords I know how to play and just straight up beat.
There was the one time that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the one particularly interesting thing that happened with the recording was there was one moment where Jason had to hold the guitar up to the actual mixing desk and the monitors to record some feedback, as opposed to the amps or the cabinet, and that was kind of a new one for me. Hadn't seen that before, so that was pretty cool.
Does it cause a different kind of feedback to hold it up to the not up to the amps, but up to, you said, to the mixing board?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was particularly different, but I'd never really seen anybody doing it that way. It's, anytime you see feedback being done, it'd be somebody's facing the amp or something of that nature. And
yeah,
just, it was a different one for me.
That's cool.
What song is that on?
I think that's on Halle Berry.
Yeah, Halle Berry, yeah.
There's certain feedback in certain songs, but that one exclusively, I think that's the one that you're
that's the bridge. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we have Halle Berry, not the actual actress, but we have
I've got so many questions about Catwoman.
We have the song. Let's go ahead and listen to it.
I saw the movie last night and tell Jackman back off, and that Travolta, what a punk, but your body made me blush. Halle Berry, oh no.
Yeah, I can definitely, yes, awesome. I can definitely hear a lot of that Nirvana influence with that song, for sure.
Yeah,
I think you
to me, this
mentioned
was like
Blur.
a very Sonic Youth type song as well.
Now, with some of your song titles, The Ghost of Carrie Fisher, Rogue One, Halle Berry, which we just listened to. Now, are your songs directly about these pop culture icons, or are they loosely influenced by them?
I would say loosely influenced. I don't really like to say what they're about because I feel like once I learn what the song's really about, it could change it for me as a listener. If I hear, what is All the Small Things really about by Blink-182? I find that out and I'm like, that's gross. I don't like that song anymore or whatever. So I think that yes, certain ones are definitely based on like The Ghost of Carrie Fisher. I can say confidently it is about Carrie Fisher. Halle Berry, yes. I wrote that song for Ryan.
My unhealthy obsession with Halle Berry.
Yeah.
No, that is very
in the movie,
healthy.
in the specific movie Swordfish, which by the way has one of the best movie soundtracks ever. But yeah, she makes a hell of an appearance in that.
I'm gonna make my girlfriend and I watch that immediately after this podcast recording.
Awesome, I'll do it.
Awesome. I'm glad we got to you.
But I know what you were saying. I heard once that I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that Seal, the musician Seal, actually doesn't put song lyrics in his, in the CD booklets because he doesn't want people. Because sometimes you mishear a lyric and it means something to you, and then you find out that you're actually mishearing it, and the lyric is something completely different. And so he likes to leave room for kind of those errors because they might be magical for some people, even though they're not right on cue. So like you said, you may not want people to know exactly what the song's about because everything is, special to each person.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to ruin it for anybody. But I mean, we do print the lyrics, so you sort of can tell what it's about. But, sometimes it's just a personal thing, or it's a lot of songs for us start as jokes. And, like Ryan said, we make them up in a half hour and everything just works. And so after playing it for a year, however long before we record it, I don't want to change the words. It just works either like phonetically with the way the music and everything.
Looking over here, that's a little bit like comedy. It's like how long do you keep? You do your set over and over and over again. You play with different words or different, orders of your set or different punchlines. And it's like at one point, when Matthew and I get our Netflix special, at one point do you just kind of like keep the joke? Is it complete? How do you know when it's done, when it's finished? So I totally get that as an artist, as an artiste. Were there a lot of big challenges or any big challenges with creating this album?
I mean, I think it just, Ryan and I were definitely ready to record it with Todd. It just didn't work out because of his schedule, and he had to leave the band. So then, it took us another year or so to get Kayvan, in the band and, up to the point where we were ready to record. And then Kayvan came with another song. And I mean, he had like 5 songs, but there was one that I was like, I can probably learn that pretty quickly. And then we really didn't plan to put it on the record, but it was just like, it's a great song. We got to do it. Same thing with Jackie. Jackie was just an idea. And Ryan and Kayvan really encouraged me to like, hey, this could be a good song, So I didn't plan that to be on the record at all either.
When Todd was leaving and the old bassist, we were trying bassist after bassist after bassist. We got a little discouraged there for a while. It took us months. And then when Kayvan actually tried out, we knew the shoe fit, and we couldn't really gauge at that point how much potential he had for contributing to everything he had so far. And he was such a fast learner. That's one thing that blows me away to this day. Not only was he learning the old songs from the older albums, he was learning the new songs on the new album, and he was writing his own music on the side. So that's the whole enchilada right there.
Superman.
Guys.
They need a bow icon next to you. You can like raise your hand. They need like a bowing icon so someone can like bow,
We're going to bow now virtually to you.
Virtually. Well, we are getting close to the end of our time, but we did want to talk about the first single off of Emulator. It's called Jackie. Why is this the first single you guys are releasing?
I think when we were recording with Sean, I think as a band we knew it was a good song, but Sean was just like, "That's the single. That's the one. You know, you got to do that one." So I think we just, since he was outside of the band, we sort of, at least for me, I was like, well, he's a musician himself. He's recorded a lot of, people. I kind of have to trust his opinion that this is the one to start with. But I mean, he did like all the other songs as well, but this one just seemed that everyone thought it was the one.
Yeah, and I, honestly, I think this particular song it really features some of the best elements of everything about the band, and it's a little bit, different, but it's very much a progression of where Hyperspace was and it is now. And I think it is very much the quintessential emulator song.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. What was that? The quintessential emulator, just
the quintessential emulator song, the one that really defines, kind of what this whole album's sound is, overall sound, and everybody's input, and just the very feel of it.
Well, and you're opening the album with it, right? It's the first track, so it kind of sets the tone for everything that follows.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
I have to. I haven't told Kayvan and Jason this, but so when we were writing this song, I practiced a lot at home, and when we were working the chord progression, et cetera, I was listening a lot to Guilty Pleasure, All American Rejects, their album called Move Along. And sure enough, the song Move Along has this tom intro. And I was like, man, this has some elements that, of All American Rejects, especially that album. Love that album. I was like, well, let's see it fits. So I just, messed around with some things here at home, in my home studio, and brought it in. And then it was just cohesive at that point. It was just smooth sailing.
Yeah, I think for me, it was a Fountains of Wayne, meets the Cars kind of song. And after hearing Saw's remix of Barbara Gordon, I told Saw, I was like, make Jackie sound like what you did to Barbara Gordon. And, there were a number of other songs. There's one called Angela that's very similar to Jackie as well. And Kayvan had said it, this was sort of the sound of the record. It was sort of this fun, bouncy kind of vibe, for lack of a better word.
That's great. Well, we're going to cue that up to play you guys out. But before we go, we would like you guys to just let our listeners know where they can find you. I know you guys are on Instagram. The album comes out, it's May 21st. Where can they buy it? Where can we support you? Do you have any online shows coming up, future gigs that you can plug? I know everything's kind of crazy with COVID-19 right now, but this is your, let's just plug everything we can. Let's get you some followers, some Julie and I will be at your next show in the front row for sure. I mean, we're so there. We love your sound.
I'm right outside your window. I'm ready to go.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Hyperspaceband.com is our main site. You can get the links for our Instagram, our Facebook, Twitter, Bandcamp, all those kind of things. Right now, the album is currently up for sale on Bandcamp. It's like a pre-sale. And then I would expect within the next day or so, it should pop up on iTunes. Fingers crossed. But yeah, the release date is next Thursday, May the 21st, which happens to be the day that The Empire Strikes Back was released so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wanted to do May the 4th, but we'd already sort of missed that date. So I was like, what's the next date in May that we can do that's related to Star Wars? We have a couple shows that have been postponed. We were supposed to play a show at the Highlander with Play Center and another band called Bro. And then there's another show coming up at the Masquerade. We don't have the date yet, but it's opening for MC Chris. And there's a band called the Cybertronic Spree. And they all dress up like Transformers, and they play the 1980s Transformers soundtrack.
That is so cool.
Looking forward to that. Fun. Yeah. And we're also, we had plans to release a video for Jackie. It just, probably the weekend that everything got closed was the weekend we were going to record it. But we should use Evan Brewer. He's a NerdLanta affiliate.
We love Evan.
Yeah. Whenever the world opens up again, I'm sure that we will be working with him.
Well, everybody, that's been NerdLanta with Hyperspace. Guys, thank you so much. And on the way out, we are going to listen to the first single from their new album, EMULATOR, Jackie. Enjoy.
To her, and she's gonna be everything I want, and I'm gonna be everything he's not, but she don't know what I wanna say. She just knows that it's not with me. She's gonna be the one, and I'm gonna
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.